Hello and welcome again. Today we're having another career conversation with an immigrant woman, this time with someone who has a military background. As we are in the month of March, which is Women History Month, we want to highlight the achievements and experiences of women, especially those who have overcome challenges and made significant contributions in their respective fields. And I can tell you that that describes every single first and second generation immigrant I've spoken to thus far. So, welcome, Karen. Introduce yourself. People have been using first names, last names, whatever you like.
Okay, I just typically go by Karen. And a little bit about myself. I came from Guyana at the age of 11 in 1978, and that was quite a shock, right? I have two children. I don't know if you can see that picture up there, my son Marcus and my daughter Shannon. And Marcus is married, and I have two grandsons. Let's see, came obviously at a very young age from Guyana, went to junior high school. And if we're speaking about careers, I started out as a correction officer. And actually, I could back that up a little bit. Started out with the summer youth program, working for the New York City Sanitation Department in high school, my last 2 years of high school, and ended up being hired as a secretary, and then went on to New York City Department of Correction as a correction officer for 17 years. And during that time, my first 2 years, well, yeah, it was like my last year of college, actually second year of college. I ended up joining the Army Reserves right out of New York. And I know you support the Guard, so I'm a part of the reserves. And I did that. I just recently retired in July of 2021, 32 years in the Army. Quite very interesting. I started out as a combat medic and end up going back to take some other classes, become a licensed practical nurse. And so my whole career was medical.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much sums it up.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. So, what will
Okay.
you say was some of the biggest challenges you faced as an immigrant when building your career, and how did you overcome them?
Oh my God. So I'll tell you some of the biggest challenges that that I personally encountered growing up. First of all, it was always the accent, right? People coming to this country, Americans never accepted our accent, and it was always a big struggle because they did not understand some of the things that, what we were saying. So there was always a challenge in the education, as far as the education system was concerned. And I just remember just being in junior high school and having to fight my way through, like physically fight every day, right? Just to make it through the school day. So I'm surprised I even made it so far as college, right? Let me see, just being bullied, right? And that's not just bully as a young immigrant, right? As career went on, there was also bullying in the military. There was bullying in correction. So how do you get past those hurdles
Hmm.
and or those challenges and succeed, right? Um, I remember one soldier, he told me when I left from New York and I went to Atlanta, and his thing was, oh, like, I don't understand. Like, I guess growing up in New York, you pick up that New York twang, I want to say, and this roughness of growing up in Brooklyn. And so he always saw when I spoke as it was being disrespectful because they're used to the women from down south and they're so soft and whatever. I always call them like pumpkin pies or whatever, right? And we were always rough around the edges. And so one of the challenges was him wanting to not give me a good evaluation at the end of the year. Although there was a white girl in there, a whole lot more than she was, right? And she was a junior rank to me. And I was training thousands and thousands of soldiers going overseas and just doing a great job. And so that part, that was one of the things that I really had to step up to him and say, like, the way I speak, I'm not being disrespectful to anyone. It's just how we are as New Yorkers. We were a little rough around the edges, right? And probably very, very direct the way we say things.
Mhm.
And so I think had I not challenged him in that point, he would have and just accepted the evaluation that he wanted to give me. I don't think I probably would have made it to where I was in the military, right? So in the military, we go from on the enlisted side, you go from E1 to E9, um, private to sergeant major, and I've reached
Mhm.
the highest level that I can reach, right? And that didn't come easy. It was a lot of challenges that went along with that, and just having to stand up for yourself and be bold, you know, you have to in order to overcome those things. That's it.
Okay. So, how did you approach building a professional network when you were starting out? Because whether it be corrections, even the sanitation job, definitely working as a nurse, how did you build that professional network?
I'll tell you, it was very difficult, right? And I can tell you this from mainly in the military, they want to say they don't have cliques, they have clicks, right? And
As the civilian in the room, I can attest.
yes, right? There are cliques, and if you don't fall into their little mold, they will not help you. And I tell people, soldiers, they're always shocked. Like, I stayed the rank of a specialist, which is an E4, for like 10 years whilst I was going to school. Yes, I promise you. I was going to my nursing school. And a lot of that came because I was never one to conform to those cliques. So I was never given the opportunity to go to school, or there was discouragement. And, a lot of the networking that I did came later on in life, and it was mostly with us West Indians, so to speak, right? And having that ability to reach out to those that had already traveled that path. But I can tell you, it is not easy. And let me see. Let me see. I said no schooling for like 4 years. It was not until I left this medical unit in Brooklyn, and I went to the one in Long Island. And it was not the same demographic, sad to say, right? And it was a young sergeant that helped me. She looked through my package. She's like, I don't understand why you're just ranked for so long. And I told her what happened. And so she helped me put together my promotion packet. I got promoted, started going to all the schools that I needed to. And it was like back to back to back to back. And I just kind of stayed in that little clique. And
Okay, got
my
it.
career was a little easy, but yes, they're cliques. It's not easy.
So, what role did mentorship play in your career development? Because it's one thing
I
to get into click, but then you need to have somebody to promote you in the click. So, how did you find mentors who could support you?
like I said, I reached out to some friends that I met, right? As I moved to that other unit, that other medical unit. And I just asked them, I said, there's this one female in particular, Melissa Jones, and she was always ahead of me in career. And I just had to talk to Melissa, like, what do I need to do? Like, can you help me advance in my career? What do I need to do? So she was just kind of guiding me on the path of what schools I needed, right? We joined some clubs, right, in the military, like some nursing things, and
Mhm.
because those are the people that are going to sit on the boards, right, and they know you're not just a piece of paper that they're looking at. They know what you're capable of, and so mentorship is extremely important. And like I said, as a young soldier, if you don't have that mentorship, you're going to be stuck in that rank for a very long time. And I think it's not just people reaching down to you to mentor you, like there has to be a connection between the two, right? You can mentor me, try to mentor me all you want, but if I don't want your mentorship, I'm not going to be open to it,
Mhm.
you know? So, um, I don't know.
Okay. So, One thing that I probably should have asked earlier, what motivated you to pursue this career? And how did
Mm.
your cultural background influence all of those career choices that you made?
So, like I said, when I came to America, I was just 11. I had no clue about where life would take me, right? And if I had to say what chose me to pursue that career field, probably the only thing, thing I would focus on is the Army because my dad was an officer and he was actually the first Guyanese officer, he was a lieutenant that went through the British Academy, right? And so we always had this picture of him. I don't think he ever really spoke about being a soldier.
Mhm.
And so one day something just clicked to me, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go downtown and sign up to go to the military. And I came home and I told my mother I was like 22 or yeah, 22. And she almost had a fit, like, you're gonna drop out of college and go to the army. Like, how dare you, right? But as far as the medical side, there were no people in my family that were medical professionals like nurses or anything like that. But I did meet quite a few in the army.
Mm.
And in the long run, it turned out to be very successful, right? And I tell you, like when I was in high school, I think somewhere in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be in the medical field because I remember going to Lincoln High School in Brooklyn and saying, "Oh, I want to go to their veterinary program because I want to be a vet." And it only took me one class to realize I did not want to be a vet because I walked in there and I smelled those animals and I said, "Hell no!" Right?
Oh my.
This is not for me, right? And even going to be a medic and going to work at the VA hospital in Brooklyn, my very first experience, it was one of the patients defecated on himself, and no one told me like when you go to clean the patient, maybe you should put some Vicks underneath your nose. And I almost threw up in my mask, and I was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm done." But I had to overcome those things and move forward. And somewhere, like I said, I guess I bounced around from high schools. I even used my aunt's address in Crown Heights because I wanted to go to Clara Barton, and they're known
Hmm.
for their nursing program. And so here I thought I knew everything because, like, again, there was no one guiding you growing up at that time. And I ended up in Prospect Heights High School, the school across the street, the neighborhood school. So I never got into the nursing program, but
That
I didn't
makes
give up.
sense.
Uh-huh.
So perhaps that was not your path. That's the way I put it.
Right, but so I ended up doing it in the military. So it did come full circle at some point. It took forever, a long way, but I finally got it. Yes.
So, what advice would you give to other immigrant women who are struggling to find their footing in a new country? You came very young, but whether it be through your eyes or those of others that you've seen, what advice would you give to other immigrant women who are struggling to find their footing, not just in the new country, but also to build a successful career?
Yeah. I would say hard work, right? I mean, it's almost like it's unavoidable unless you're coming here with some rich parents, right?
Mhm.
I just remember working very hard to help my mom out and help out siblings, bring some money into my mother and five children alone, you know. And I always say to remain humble, right?
Mhm.
No matter what job you have, remain humble. And people know that um, people sense that inside of you. And I think that goes for me till to this day, I feel like it goes a very long way. And it doesn't matter like how where in life you reach, how far up in the rank you reach.
Mhm.
If you have humility, you will succeed point blank. But the most important thing I would say is for people to not only come here and work hard and work for someone else. I think it's important that we get our own businesses, right? Whatever that may be, right? Having your own is always the best. It might come with some struggles, obviously, but I think if you pursue it, and I probably think if I had to do things a different way, that's a route I would go. Is my own business or even having your own land, growing your own things, farming, whatever it is, maybe, that calls you, that your nature's calling for. I think that's important.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Oh, don't know what's going on here with the audio, but thank you so much for having this conversation with us. I'm sure my audience would benefit, and I have a few tips that I'm going to leave after, but I'm going to stop the recording now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.